Well, thanks for coming out today, everybody, to this really exciting project. In 2021, Congress approved a historic $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill to repair our crumbling roads and bridges, expand our systems, and create millions of good-paying jobs in the process. The work that's behind us right here is the direct result of that effort. It's the direct result of more than $4 billion that Colorado is expected to receive from this once-in-a-generation investment that we're making to our nation's infrastructure. The Alameda Bridge is the oldest highway bridge in the state, and for many years, as I know because I've lived in Colorado and in Denver my whole life, it was also one of the most deficient. For years, residents of this area have been forced to rely on this crumbling 112-year-old structure to cross the South Platte River. And as we all know, as the bridge aged, the concerns for the safety continued to rise. And so while this might be just one of hundreds of new road and bridge projects that are underway in our state as a result of the infrastructure funding Congress approved, to those of us who live in this community, it's the most important project right now because it's going to make it safer for all those crossing the river and for the bicyclists and pedestrians connecting here to the South Platte River Greenway Trail. It will provide more options for people to get from one side to the other, whether by foot, by bike, or by car, which will help bring the communities on both sides of the river closer together. It will also help reduce congestion and delays, allow people to spend less time in traffic, and having more time to do the things that they love. And if you're sitting in traffic less time, that's also fewer emissions that you're putting out into the atmosphere. Build Back Better might be a cliche, but here it really means something. Because when we tried to build the South Platte Bike Trail under this 1911 bridge, we had to jerry-rig the whole thing because in 1911 they weren't building bridges to accommodate bike trails. But now, with this reconstruction, this whole section of the South Platte Trail will be modern and it will be suitable for the uses that we have in 2023 and beyond. So as I said, this is just one example of the countless projects that are now underway across the country thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure bill that Congress approved 2 years ago. Together, these projects are helping lay the foundation that we need to grow our economy even more, and they've created thousands of good-paying jobs in the process, some of which are right here at this site. In addition to fixing the crumbling roads and bridges, we're building the first ever national network of electric vehicle charging stations in the United States. We're delivering thousands of electric school buses to communities across the country. We're improving the infrastructure at our nation's airports and seaports. Boy, do we know about that out at DIA. We're replacing thousands of miles of lead pipes across the country to make sure all Americans have access to clean drinking water, and we're making broadband internet more accessible, not just in rural communities, but also in urban communities like Denver. I want to thank Executive Director Lou and everybody over at CDOT for making this project a priority and for being such a great partner with my office and with Congress over the years. I know that by working together, we're going to have many more projects like this throughout our community soon. And with that, I want to turn it over to Director Lou to provide an update on where things stand with the project and when residents here will be able to start using all of these new add-ons that we're going to have. Director?
Thank you, Congresswoman, and I'm so thrilled that you took the time to come out to visit this project because we were actually really disappointed that the weather was not great for groundbreaking when we started this one, and we have not gotten a chance to properly highlight what an important example this is of the exact kind of work you're talking about. Fixing, we love historic bridges. We don't want them to get too historic while we're driving on them. And this, this is such an important example of what we need to do to modernize our infrastructure, to make it more multimodal, and to really take care of the roads that so many of us live near and rely on. We're standing at a significant project, and these really reach back to Denver's early history. And we have a lot to update to make Alameda Avenue work for people for another 120 years. But first, I want to underscore the importance of the federal bipartisan infrastructure law, which we've heard about in the Build Back Better initiative, and the need to have federal, state, and local governments come together and really take care of our aging infrastructure. In our formula dollars alone, and that's not to say the least of the grants where we are competing really well, Colorado is seeing about 20% of an increase from what we were seeing before. So that's a huge amount of money relative to the baseline of what we had to do these kinds of projects, and we couldn't be more grateful to you and your colleagues in Congress for the hard work to get this over the finish line. We've been able to really take advantage of that strategically, both with the formula dollars and, as I said, with competing fantastically for grants because of the incredible work that's happening across Colorado, both at CDOT and with our local partners. We've had some really neat wins from local governments across the state recently, ranging from the metropolitan area to places like Delta, which, because of the work we've all done and the work of the Polis administration to leverage dollars, have been able to compete effectively for grant funds. So, holistically across the state, so much benefit because of the bipartisan infrastructure law. Leveraging the state level investments was something that has been a real priority for the governor, who has made match money a priority in budgetary asks, working together with the state legislature. So this is really, again, an all hands on deck effort. Talking a little bit about this project. This project here on Alameda is one where we're using about $5 million in federal support to make the budget work, together with the state dollars that come from the budget that we plan on, which frankly is also heavily reliant on federal funds because we assume a certain level of federal support is the baseline. So, that $5 million is not even fully representative of how much we are taking advantage of those federal dollars. And it means that we can see the benefits of specific projects like this one. And let's talk a little bit about what's going on with this project. The construction to replace the Alameda Avenue, Colorado Highway 26 bridge over the South Platte River began at the beginning of this year in January. As I said, not the best time of year for groundbreaking season. The new bridge is designed to improve safety not just for motorists, but also for bicyclists and pedestrians, all of whom rely on this important east-west connection that spans so much of the city. I live not far from Alameda myself. The bridge was originally constructed in 1911 and is the oldest bridge on the state highway system. It was widened, as you heard, in 1966, following the 1965 flood of the South Platte. In addition to the bridge, the Colorado Department of Transportation is building a multimodal corridor and modifying West Alameda at the intersection of Santa Fe, removing the South Platte River Drive between Alameda and Cedar Street, and diverting traffic to an improved South Lippin Street north of Alameda. CDOT is also reconstructing the South Platte River Trail under the bridge and a short distance south and north of the bridge. Improvements will include better sight distances. In a lot of these corridors that go along waterways, you have very tight curves where it's hard to see, so that's a big deal for safety. And including a 12-foot concrete trail, a 4-foot finely crushed stone trail, and 3-foot vegetated shoulders for an overall trail width of 22 feet, which is quite substantial in trail design. The City of Denver continues to have jurisdiction at the endpoints, and this is a close collaboration, again, between federal, state, and local government. Improving sidewalks on the north and south side of the new bridge is also part of the plan here, and later next year, we are also constructing an on-street, two-way protected bike lane on the north side of Alameda between South Lippin Street and South Klamath Street, which will include a connection to the South Platte River Trail. Should be ready to use by about January 2025. Perfect time of year to open a new bike trail. You can take your ice skates and your bike. The next phase of the project is scheduled to begin in October 2023, just around the corner. and the contractor will divert the South Platte River, allowing the remaining north portion of the bridge to be completed. In 2024, the next phase is a major traffic shift to the newly completed north half of the bridge. The old south side of the bridge will then be demolished, allowing construction to begin on the south half of the structure. We're so excited to continue this work and deliver a bridge and nearby trail that works for so many different kinds of travelers in the Denver metropolitan area. At that point, I'd like to turn things back to you, Congresswoman, and thank you again for taking the time to come out here.
Thank you so much. Okay, questions? Comments? Okay, thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it. We'll bring our ice skates out in January when the next phase is open. Thanks, everybody.